It being 6 o'clock, I'll call this meeting in order. Town of Ayer Zoning Board of Appeals. First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. We have a public hearing. Town of Ayer Zoning Board of Appeals. Public hearing notice, Ayer ZBA will conduct a public hearing at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, July 19, 2017, Ayer Town Hall located 1 Main Street, Ayer, Mass. 01432, regarding the application by Kevin Horgan, 16 Madigan Lane, Ayer, Mass. 01432. Applicant is appealing building commissioner decision relative to site plan approval on the property known as Solar 2, Assessor's Map, Parcel 39, pursuant to MGL C40A, Section 815 and 17. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'll ask my neighbor, Mr. Diskin, to join us if that's okay.
Please.
He's the brains behind the operation.
Not really.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and the board, for having this hearing tonight on our behalf on a sweltering night. We appreciate your attendance. We are here to obviously appeal the decision of our building inspector regarding the approval without site plan review for Solar 2.
We put together these notes, which I'd like you to.
Yeah, I'm going to refer to my notes and please do so along with us. A public hearing was held before the planning board on March 2nd for Ayer Solar 2. The planning board met, however, the applicant did not have complete documents. It was advertised as a public hearing. At the request of the applicant, the town was promised that documents were going to be available. However, they were not available for the meeting. However, the meeting was held, and it was a public meeting. It was advertised, and there were many abutters in attendance. There was a lengthy discussion regarding the project that is proposed behind Madigan Lane for the proposed Solar 2. However, without proper documents by the applicant, a lot of the questions weren't able to be answered.
Questions pertaining to?
Well, pertaining to...
See, let's make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah, we got to.
We're not privy to what the planning board did or didn't do.
Okay.
Only thing we can do is listen to your appeal and try to base what we have to do on that.
Okay.
Bear in mind, we are governed by state law.
Okay, thank you.
I'll give him some background.
Thank you. But the point I'm trying to make is that a public hearing has already been opened on this project.
Okay.
What basically would happen here is that there was an opportunity to have a public meeting was advertised. The applicant came to the public meeting, and the planning board did not actually open an official meeting, but allowed a discussion, as we have in our notes here. During the discussion, a number of different items were brought up regarding the concept of the meeting. And at the end of the day, we feel that by starting the public meeting process and advertising it and having it, but in this particular case, the applicant did not have all their drawings complete. Therefore, the planning board was not officially able to open the meeting. Subsequent to that, in the future, the applicant went back to the town and found in the letter of the law that we seem to have no particular provision for site plan review for this type of project.
That's absolutely correct.
So what we're here for basically is try to give you information on other details that we believe would raise it to the point of site plan review. And we believe, in the best interest of the citizens of the town of Ayer, would require site plan review.
I can't debate that. What I can tell you is the bylaws in the town, the state law is very specific about what we can and cannot do with the solar project.
It
No
is?
question about that, yes, sir.
No, I'm going to tell you that it isn't, so that's one thing we're going to talk
No.
about.
That's not correct.
That's one of the things we're going to talk about. If you go to the
It
first,
is traditionally done by notes,
yeah,
dictated, done by special permit or site plan review process. However, and here's the big one, okay? The town of Ayer has never changed the zoning bylaw
we understand all this.
to incorporate a special permit or site plan review process
Right.
for the solar. So there's 4-point criteria that would instigate a site plan review, and this project doesn't meet any of them. So we're right back to square one again, but by all means, please continue.
Okay, so if you read that paragraph here, you'll see that the applicant had opened up a discussion that evening because it was in fact not a bona fide meeting opened by the planning board. And during the discussion, the applicant explained to us, that as of right zoning, which is what you're referring to, for solar projects. But in fact, the model as of right zoning requirements or suggestions by the state, which I have a copy of here, do talk about that paragraph. And then later on in the discussion, under Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 3, where they talk about local zoning provisions specifically allowing as a right construction of smaller solar energy systems, such as those commonly installed on the top of a roof or a lot of a home or business, are unnecessary. However, this is the direct, will give you this, quote from editorial educational notes, it is not clear whether Mass General Law 40, Section A, Section 3 applies to the construction of large-scale ground-mounted systems. Therefore, to qualify as a green community, it goes on to tell you the details of a green community. Now, we understand that we are a green community and we didn't put together that provision, but it's still unclear whether large-scale qualifies for as-right zoning. Now, this applicant certainly presented that as part of their discussion. They told us it's allowed under as-of-right zoning. And as-of-right zoning is a question mark here because I believe large-scale does make an exception based on what they said. It's really unclear. This is from the DOER website where they give you suggestions on how to determine and make and model as a right zoning bylaw, which of course we didn't do.
That's correct.
But the provisions there make the suggestion and tell you specifically that as a right is not necessarily defined that clearly for the large scale. And this is a statewide issue, incidentally. What we're doing tonight actually is very important around the whole place, everywhere. So we contend that the fact that the discussion was had, the presentation was made based on an as-of-right privilege, and we understand that. And more importantly that evening, the applicant told the planning board that they would be back. We'll be back on March 20, we'll have our drawings done by March 27th and get ready for site plan approval.
And then I understood that they rescinded their...
Yeah, rescinded it after that, but we certainly, as abutters and citizens of the town, sat there with an understanding in mind that site plan was going to move forward.
They had the luxury of knowing that there was opposition to this. However, a public meeting was open.
It wasn't official.
It wasn't official, but it was advertised. It was a public
We
meeting.
did
It was a public meeting. The abutters were here.
You understand that?
I also want to debate I do believe that site plan review is required under our bylaws, under section 10.2a. The construction of a commercial structure having a gross floor area exceeding 1,200 square feet will require site plan review and approval. We know gross floor area is space limited inside the building envelope. Large-scale solar projects, they don't have gross floor area within a building. This is, when these bylaws are written, it's no different than when cell towers came to the town. We had to quickly introduce a cell tower bylaw because people wanted to put cell towers in their front yards so they could collect the rents from the phone companies. This is no different. I believe that the 1,200 square foot floor area is covered. This is a requirement. This triggers site plan review. When you bring in the construction of steel support systems, transformer pads, foundations for retaining walls, underground drainage, piping system, fencing, overhead utilities, 1,300 feet of driveway. This is, in my mind, it's a no-brainer that this qualifies for site plan review. And I think that this gives you the authority to require site plan review.
Well, first off, I don't agree with your interpretation of 10.2, because if you go to the definitions in the same bylaw, the floor area is defined as the gross horizontal area of several floors of the building, excluding areas used for accessory garage purposes or basement areas. All horizontal dimensions shall be taken from the exterior faces of walls, including walls and other enclosure. You're talking literally about the floor of a building, not ground zero of a field.
You're still covering more than 1,200 square feet. Just because there isn't concrete poured under these solar panels, I challenge you that it does qualify as square foot area, just because they're not pouring concrete underneath these panels. I believe this qualifies for site plan review. These solar structures were not even thought of.
No, they weren't. Not when this bylaw.
But
Exactly.
as town boards, we need to be proactive about this, and I believe that this covers us.
There are a multitude of sins in the bylaws that are not covered.
I understand that, and that's all being addressed, as we all know,
One would hope.
hopefully at town meeting. But I do believe that this gives you the opportunity to require site plan review for the applicant. Furthermore, the projects that are involved with this particular project, including Riley Jane Road, the driveway leading to this project, I believe was kind of spoon-fed to the board so as to avoid some of these regulations. Riley Jane Road is, as you know, a project at the end of Pleasant Street.
Spoon-fed to what board?
All of the board. Riley Jane Road was approved as a subdivision, and that's where they're getting their frontage for this landlocked lot.
Mhm.
Obviously, we all know you need 100 feet of frontage. This frontage goes over the river, through the woods, through the wetlands, in order to get to this project. The access to this project is from a different road. I believe this entire project, including Riley Jane, should have been included as one project and not been fed in phases. At which point, site plan review was required for Riley Jane. This whole entire project would have been scrutinized, as it should be.
As I understood it, the original project had to go through site plan review because of the subdivision.
Which didn't include this particular lot.
You're talking about the solar
This
one?
doesn't.
That's not connected to this job. It's a totally approved job on the other side. But the contention,
That was the same one.
if this lot, if the discussion, again, this was discussion, so we're only getting this from discussion from the applicant. So the applicant in discussion mentioned that they intended to get their legal frontage from a lot that's been pre-subdivided on the Riley Jane subdivision, Lot 10. And it's a gerrymandered shaped lot which is directly abutting the Lot 439, which is the location of the solar systems. So had this, I think part of our contention is, had the project of Riley Jane included that lot from day one,
Commercial lot.
we would have had an opportunity for site plan review with the Riley Jane project, because we would have seen that that was part of the Riley Jane project. Now we're basically going back in time, and this is only discussion. So I can't say that it's a fact, but it's also part of what our attempt to show you folks tonight is that we want to have site plan approval so we understand exactly what is going on. Is it part of the Riley Jane subdivision, and therefore the lot is a new lot, which we could basically say potentially should have gone through site plan review since it was part of Riley Jane, because they've told us in discussion they're going to continue the lot 10 and incorporate it into this lot.
That's where they
So
get it
that's
from.
part of our thought. The other thought was that during discussions with conservation, the plan I'm showing you here is the approved drawing basically for conservation, where they show the driveway, which is extensive driveway. And we've been told in conversation with conservation that there were potentially a couple of residential lots going to be proposed for this location here. So what we have now basically is only a conservation discussion and a conservation approval, recently, last week, 3-1. But we have no other way to rationalize the project. We don't see the scope of this project in total.
Conservation approval for what?
They went to conservation to approve this driveway basically through the wetlands, because they have about 4,500, well, call it less than 4,500 square feet of wetland that they need to contend with. So they've been in conservation for 5-6 months, and, did a great
They're
job.
moving the wetland, basically?
They're going to
Yes.
replicate
Yes.
wetland.
They're
But that's
filling
not-
it.
Oh, yeah, Jess is
Moving
here.
it. Oh, all right, you were.
Jess is on that.
The planning board didn't have an opportunity to discover that there's a commercial use on a residential subdivision. This came after the fact. However, the frontage is coming off this residential subdivision.
Well, we were
Not
told
to
that.
mention,
We
does
don't
it
know
back
for
up
sure.
to a residential subdivision? This is a residential piece of property. I understand it's an as-of right. However, I think the site plan review for Riley Jane Road, this was specifically excluded.
There's a couple of other points here that we believe protect the public, and just in general, some of our other notes here include landscaping and screening plans, which are not part of conservation's drawings, but do fall under site plan review. We believe that's the minimum protection for abutters, to allow us to have input into landscaping and screening plans for the intensity of this development. And potentially, that during the discussion, they did create, I think, a 50-foot or so buffer, which is very lightly treed right now. The trees that are there are not densely treed. So we're thinking the whole the whole procedure of site plan review and input from planning board and other professionals for landscaping plans, surety bonds, in the first
Open space requirements.
open space requirements, it goes on and on and on. Those are all necessary requirements of site plan review, and I don't think those things should be taken away from us.
You're removing the right of every residential lot. There's a commercial,
What, right?
the right to
The
site plan
input, we
review.
have no
The right to
input.
input.
They're just gonna they could pull a building permit.
This is,
You know,
this is in a residential, this is on a residential lot. It's a commercial power plant for profit that's being installed. How can this not go to site plan review?
And is this a A2 residential?
Yes.
building?
Yes, they do. There is a couple of other requirements here that we do currently have bylaws for in the town of Ayer, and that's a NIPD's bylaw, which you may be aware of, which is a stormwater control bylaw, our Article 47. That will apply here. And we basically also thought, just because of the consequence, if site plan review were required, it would be an easy fit to put the NIPD's requirement and the permit for NIPD's into site plan review for everyone to look at and determine, agree on the stormwater control systems that are required. And lastly, of course, maybe not lastly, but at a minimum, the new zoning bylaws which are being discussed and proposed right now and going through public forums with the planning board will require this type of project, because they're going to require critical site plan review for projects that they're over 10,000 square. And I know it doesn't
Where did you
apply
hear
to
that?
It's not hearing, I've been to all the meetings, and
Okay.
it's a fact. I've got this new, I can give you the.
We're not told.
Excuse me?
We're not told that.
Oh, okay, well, I can give
The
you
planning board writes the bylaws and we have to deal with it.
the new bylaw, site plan bylaw, which I may or may not have in this folder. Basically, it will require site plan review for projects that are over 10,000 square. That's my item number 9 here. Currently written, I'll read it to you, basically. The final change, updates are currently being proposed to the Ayer zoning bylaw, and the final draft is being discussed by the planning board in public forums. They've had 2 public forums, there's 1 more to go. The final changes will go into the fall town meeting for discussion, and we hope approval. It's currently written, the site plan review section, as I say currently written, in the new proposed bylaw, is section 3.5.1, and it's called applicability. It states the following: site plan review by planning board shall be required for the following uses or activities in all districts. Number 3 states clearing or grading of more than 10,000 square feet of land. Unless specifically exempt, they call it an exemption, and the exemption applies to some government repairs. It has nothing to do with the standard type of construction. So based on that, and alone, we think it's so close to the whole review by the town, the discussion, potentially a town meeting for these changes. We just think these are all strong points that require a simple decision for, I know the planning, you guys are in a pinch. I mean, you have to go by what's black and white.
We have to go by what
But I think in this particular case,
I think there was also a disingenuous effort on the part of the applicant on the Riley Jane Road subdivision. This was not brought up at Riley Jane, and that's where they're getting their frontage. They're 100 feet of frontage, as I said, over the river, through the woods, to access this property. You can't tell me this wasn't in the plan from the beginning. This is what I mean by being spoon-fed. And I think that should have been the original Riley Jane, because this is going to have to become a lot of Riley Jane, I'm assuming. I'm not an expert.
it is going to be.
If that's going to be a lot
If
of Riley
that's
Jane, this is a commercial power plant on a residential piece of property, and planning board never had the opportunity to voice on that.
Here's the new section, if you want a copy of the new, I have it with me.
May I see it?
That's the, and I went to the planning board meeting on July 13th and asked the question, if that particular section were to be changed any further or reviewed any further by the planning board, or were they sticking with that section at this point in time? So obviously, there's another meeting coming up, so someone could change it, but the answer I got was no, they like that section just the way it is, and they intend to stick with that section going into the new bylaw. Thank you. You're welcome. Mr. Chair.
John?
We do public input before we,
That's what we're doing.
So we'll say there was one dissenting vote at Conscom.
I'm sorry?
There was one dissenting vote on Conscom.
everybody else okay with anything you said?
Are there anybody else want to speak? Yes, sir? Name?
My name's Kyle Burchard with GPR. We're the engineer for the Air Solar 2 project. And I can understand Mr. Diskin and Mr. Morgan's concern about this project. We've had meetings with Mr. Diskin, who's been very much involved in researching all the applicable codes and regulations. And I think what he's saying is that the regulations are not currently in effect for the site plan review requirements for this project under state law, but that they're in process. We sympathize with that, and we understand that that's the case, and that's how it's written in the state law. It can't be unreasonably regulated arbitrarily, solar projects, but local towns are certainly able to enact different rules and regulations and bylaws in order to regulate it however it is that they see as enacted by the town.
Are you the engineer of record?
I did not stamp the plans, but worked with the engineer of record, essentially doing the design.
With or for?
For. Douglas Miller is the engineer of record on the plans, but I work under him in order to complete the design. I think that, I was not involved directly with the Riley James subdivision. I understand that, this parcel was part of the overall tract of land. It needed to have some legal frontage. You couldn't subdivide without having some legal frontage. That's how it was created. I don't know at the time if this was envisioned as that. I would submit to you that this is not a commercial power plant, though it had, well, I look at the use regulation table in the zoning ordinance, the zoning bylaw, and that doesn't exist. So we're caught also by the regulations to work within them. So there are numerous examples of access being gained to a property from a different frontage location, as in the Madigan Lane subdivision itself. This is a common practice, so I don't see how that's disingenuous. I don't see how that's some cause for concern. So all I'm saying is,
Couple of questions. for
yes,
you.
sir.
This is not a commercial powerhouse. You're not generating power.
Well,
For profit.
Follow me here. for a
Power
minute.
generated.
It's power generated, it's commercial. You're an IPP, for basic, an independent power producer. You're generating solar power, feeding it to national grid through a meter.
Okay.
That's a power generating station, any way you look at it.
This is fine.
Okay.
Now, I guess my first question is, why are we fighting a site plan review to begin with?
We submitted for site plan review
And then
in
you
accordance with
rescinded it.
the bylaws.
Yep.
And we got a call from the building inspector. We did not solicit the call. We didn't ask for the call. We didn't ask for an interpretation. He said, "Why are you submitting this?" The planning board gave it to him to make sure that it met all requirements, initially for their review. So he called us. We came and met with him and the assistant town administrator, and we walked through exactly the 4 points that you mentioned earlier in 10.2, section 10, articles 10.2. It didn't appear that it was there, so they consulted town council about the matter, understanding that it's a very important issue, and town council gave a determination. I didn't see the letter, but apparently communicated that site plan review is not required. So we opted not to go through the process because we're going through a very stringent process with the stormwater design. The environmental constraints on this site are quite extensive, and we went through the Conservation Commission. There's an extensive stormwater review that has been completed, and it is complying with all applicable laws. So, I don't know.
My first thought, okay, you don't have to do it. I get that. 10.2 says you don't have to. Look in this room. There's a lot of concerned citizens there. That might get someone's attention, I would think. How many of you people here for this? Raise your hands, please.
Not
That's
in
a fair
favor
amount.
How many are attending the meeting for this
Attending.
meeting? How many are in attendance for this discussion?
That's a fair amount of abutters.
And we have reached out to the, to ask, what can we do? What is the
When
concern?
did you-
all.
We got nothing.
Well, you can't always say.
Please. All indications notwithstanding what these gentlemen just said. You heard what they said. So we're not going to digress into a he said, she said. That's not gonna happen. What we've got to determine is whether or not the building commissioner was within his rights and responsibilities to say he didn't need it. According to our bylaws, he's correct. According to the town council, he's correct. But it's up to us to look at the other side of it and say, now, wait a minute. There's a lot of people here that are concerned. So at what point do we say, we're not going to listen to you, we're going to just take it on face value? So that's the determination we need to make. Our job right now is to say, okay, is he right? In all probability, I think so, according to our bylaws, according to the way it's written. But that withstanding doesn't mean that it's going to change.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, there have been numerous advertised Conservation Commission hearings. Mr. Diskin and Mr. Horgan are the only ones.
That's not correct.
I'm sorry,
That's not
but-
correct. Kyle.
Well, but we've been discussing this project publicly.
Mr. Madigan,
The only
yeah?
dis-
And
was
Mr.
here.
I've been
Madigan.
here.
So I'm sorry, I don't
I've been here.
recognize everyone.
I've been
I'm
here.
happy to talk about these plans.
Mr. Chairman.
Sir?
Well, what, putting a commercial property in our backyard?
Well,
You can try and dice the words, but it's a commercial property. Just like the driveway is not a road.
Mr. Chairman.
Sir?
I'd like to go back to Kyle's remark about reaching out to the neighborhood. The only reaching out has been done is the requirement that would put advertising in the public spirit newspaper, which I look at, and most people don't even look at that little back section. Only things that were required. There was no reaching out to Mr. Madigan, who's got 700 or 800, 900
That's not
feet.
true.
And for a private meeting, when I say reaching out, I'm defining it as a private session, unlike what's required before the boards. And the board meetings, as we all know, those are complicated, and especially the particulars. And they did it. There's nothing wrong with any of their drawings. They did a fine job at their drawings. All their work is definitely top notch. But reaching out is a stretch.
I see a pretty serious communications issue. No question about that. I really do.
Mr. Chairman, I believe we can debate 10.2 all night long, and it is what it is, and I understand and I respect it. I also have to go back to the project as in its entirety, and that starts with the road accessing the power generating plant,
I
as
understand.
it also includes Riley Jane Road and the frontage.
We
That
fully
and I believe that
understand
is
that.
one project, and that's how I feel you've been spoon-fed.
We fully understand that.
But, so where they want to put this has nothing to do with the development, right? They're two separate pieces of property and.
That's where the frontage is coming from.
I'm not sure what you meant by that question. Nothing to do.
There's a housing development there.
Well, we live in this is our housing development here.
Okay, so what abuts where this,
Right now, this piece of property is landlocked. It's abutted by the rail trail on the west, by Madigan Lane subdivision on the north, by two privately owned lots, which the developer has indicated in meetings that they're under agreement, and then Washington Street. So we're talking about 1,300 feet. And this
So
particular side is
it's really
abutting the
not-
Riley
It's
Jane.
really not part of all this. It's a separate tract of land. It's
It's a
really
separate
not
tract of
part
land.
of any development or
At this
anything.
point, it's just a separate tract of land,
Okay.
undeveloped.
So really, the rest of it has nothing to do with the discussion, other than they're basically abutters.
So Riley Jane Road, which is where they're getting their frontage, is over by the window
Yeah.
So
on
that's
that
it.
plan.
I'm not sure what your question is.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Well, they kept saying that it's really part of the whole development. It's really not part of the whole development. It's a separate entity in that neighborhood.
Not when you're using the frontage from that development.
It could potentially become part of an existing subdivision plan. I think that's what we were trying to point out. There is an existing
Well,
subdivision.
if they don't,
Your access comes from
if they don't have proper frontage, that's an entirely different issue to be addressed as far as the zoning goes. It really has nothing to do with a site review. That's a whole different variances.
I'm suggesting this lot was excluded from site plan review for Riley Jane Road,
Could have been included.
where it should not have been because that's where the frontage is coming from.
They're saying that, if I interpret it correctly, the whole project was snowballed because there was no site plan review. It should have been looked at and discussed amongst the abutters for that road and for the solar plant. As is right now, they started to have their site plan review, got part of the way into it, found out they didn't have to do it according to our bylaws, and backed out of the site plan review. The abutters want the site plan review done because they need to speak their piece and see what's being done. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Correct.
A question though, Kyle began by saying that they set up the site plan review with the planning board in accordance with the bylaws. Building inspector comes in with a different opinion.
That came from the coordinator who used to be up there. Gave them bad information.
No,
Sorry.
Yeah,
What
no.
court?
yeah,
No, that's,
I
yeah.
don't think so.
You were told you had to do a site plan review to begin with.
no, they submitted for site plan review. They weren't told.
They were,
Right,
Yeah.
and as he put it, in accordance with the bylaws. So a certain reading of the bylaws.
I understood
Yes.
that they spoke to the coordinator we used to have,
Becky?
and they, huh?
Becky?
No.
The coordinator was not going to accept it until she got some other confirmation from the board.
I don't remember
Mr.
her,
Chairman,
I don't remember her name, but as I understood it, she had told them that there was a site plan review required. They started putting the package together. The planning board, they gave it to the planning board gave it to the building commissioner, and he says, you don't have to do that. So they had some erroneous information to begin with.
Who's the site plan coordinator?
I think I can clear that up.
Who was that?
Sandy
Who?
Bean.
Sandy Bean.
Sandy.
Okay.
I think I can clear it up. During the Conservation Commission meetings throughout the winter, I knew site plan review was pending. So I was watching the newspaper every single week, and the legal ads in the back, waiting for the advertisement for site plan review. I saw the advertisement for site plan review, and this is a fact. Once I saw the ad, it indicates in the ad that the drawings are available at Town Hall, either at the town clerk's office where they're stamped in, or at the planning board. I came in, walked through that door, went to the town clerk and asked for the drawings for Solar 2. And they didn't have them. In fact, they were baffled that I asked. They said, we have Solar 1. They said, but it's in the ad. So I went upstairs and saw Sandy, where she explained to me that they had cut a little bit of slack to the applicant, because the applicant wanted to move the process. So they went
Those
ahead.
your words or hers?
That's hers.
All right.
In good faith.
In good
This is
faith.
the first round, Ken, you're talking
First round,
about?
very first round.
Okay.
The
So
first
second
advertisement.
round, when we submitted,
Right, the first
the
round.
drawings are all
So
there.
the first round goes in with the ad, but no drawings, with the promise that by GPR, that the drawings
We
would
made-
meet the meeting. They'd be
We
there
made an
before the
error, we
meeting.
were excoriated by the planning board, and
Right.
we have gotten a lot of disfavor because of that, or not disfavor, but, we've been reprimanded, shall I say. So I apologize for that, I didn't mean to do that.
didn't finish.
We don't mean to have, made a waste of any of your time. We certainly would like to be able to discuss the project. We presented the project many times from the Conservation Commission. I'm happy to discuss the project on an ongoing basis with anybody in this room.
Just doing a site plan review.
That's what we want.
Well, do you want to understand what's happening in the plan or just opposing?
No,
I
we
want
want
what's
site
happening
plan
in the plan.
review.
I want site plan review.
Site plan review
to-
requires oversight that we as abutters can put
You
off
can,
to
you can promise
professionals.
us anything privately, but site plan review will require you to actually adhere to.
You guys done?
Yes,
Thank you.
we're done.
Sorry.
We have one issue on the table. Whether or not we feel, as a board, that the building inspector, or building commissioner's decision should be overturned, and the site plan review performed, or not.
Okay.
That's
So-
it. You heard the whole story.
I don't want to say that his decision should be overturned and they must do a site plan review. However, I do feel that they should have the hearings that they were supposed to have in the first place that were aborted. And these people did not get to talk to the board and present their issues as they see them before the decision is made whether or not a site review is necessary.
How would we facilitate it? The only way we could do that, John, is to turn over the building commissioner's decision and force it back to the planning board for a site plan review. That's our only option. There is no other way. Am I correct, Robert? Yeah.
Do you have any
That's
comments,
it.
Robert?
Well, I can't confirm that they did not properly hold the hearings that they were supposed to hold. And if those hearings weren't properly held, then I maintain that whether or not they want to do a site review, they must have the hearing.
The hearings are paramount with the site plan review.
But they had hearings to determine whether a site review was necessary,
No,
and there was no drawing.
It was to do a site plan review.
Misunderstanding.
no, that's not correct.
Okay.
No, they started to formulate a site plan review and then withdrew because they felt they didn't have to according to 10.2. So that left the abutters hanging in the wind, basically. So right back to the same thing again. The only thing we can do is push it back to the planning board for a site plan review, and the only way to do that is overturn building commissioner's decision. That's it.
Okay, then in order to do that, I have to have some grounds to overturn it. And when I look at the bylaw,
On paper, we can't.
when I look at the bylaw and I look at the mass regulation about zoning, no zoning ordinance shall prohibit unless it regulate installation of solar energy.
That's part of the statement, yeah. That's part of it.
Okay.
It's out of context. There's more to that. So I get that, I really do. What concerns me more so, and we had this discussion before, as a board, here's all the people here. There's an issue, and we need to address it.
And I'm all for that, but I just need some grounds to do it on.
I'm looking at the grounds.
And that's grounds enough.
Yes, it is for me. Ron?
Discussion.
Jess?
I just look at it that there are different interpretations of 10.2, not looking at the content of 10.2. A public process was started. I'm really opposed to shutting down public processes, particularly once they've started, but even so, I think more public input for impacts to community are better. So I have no problem with voting to overturn.
Okay, it's my understanding it has to be a majority, it has to be unanimous. Okay?
Make a motion.
Okay. I make a motion that we vote on the appeal of the building commission decision, Kevin Horgan, on the property for the solar 2.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So that goes back to the planning board for site plan review?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You couldn't talk to me before. You want to talk to me before? You want to talk to me now?
I don't know what you were going to say.
I make a motion that we close that public hearing.
Thank you.
And think at the same time.
Yeah, right.
Sorry for leaving a mess. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Bit late, but we'll open a public hearing. Application for special permit here, 22 LLC.
Oh, thank you. How are you?
Gentlemen,
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
We're the easy
members.
ones.
really?
Maybe.
Do you want me to close the door, sir?
Please.
I'm comfortable agreeing with your statement.
Hey, Paul, how are you?
I'm Paul. Paul Geronimo.
Town of Ayer, zoning board of appeals, public hearing notice. Ayer ZBA will conduct a public hearing at 6:15, sorry, 6:45 PM, Wednesday, July 19, 2017, Ayer Town Hall located 1 Main Street, Ayer, Mass. Regarding the application by Ayer 22 LLC, 22 Fitchburg Road, map 18, parcel 2, Ayer, Mass. 01432. Applicant seeks a special permit pursuant to Ayer zoning bylaw 2009-3322C to allow for a drive-through accessory use as part of the freestanding coffee donut shop. Gentlemen.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I'm Steve Mullaney from S.J. Mullaney Engineering, along with Paul DiGeronimo he's the principal of Ayer 22 LLC. And the property that we're discussing at 22 Fitchburg Road is more popularly known now as the Shop and Save. It was Hannaford for many years and Victory before that. Tom's Food Road before that, exactly. It's been a supermarket for 49 years at this location. And as you can see from the drawing and from the aerial photograph, you see an overview of the property. At present is the existing building, and
Is it round?
it's a 16-sided building.
Tom's Food World.
Wow.
Yeah.
Used to be a big globe on the sign.
Did it really?
Yeah. And it was one in Fitchburg too, this exact same design.
Sorry.
And there are 143 parking spaces, most of which are not used. Harkens back to a time when the supermarket was busier, back when Fort Evans was in full operation. Turn this so everybody can see. Mary, I'm not trying to block your view. And what Mr. DiGeronimo would like to do at this time is actually make better utilization of the property by adding a couple of additional buildings to the property to make it a real neighborhood shopping center, and adding a small addition to the existing building for some small retail shops. And one of the proposals is for a retail store. We're presently talking with an auto parts store to occupy at the western end of the property. But the matter before you tonight is adding a drive-through business at the eastern end of the site. And as you can see from the aerial photograph, it would actually be positioned where the existing pavement is. There would be some landscaping introduced around it that's not presently there because the site is just all pavement. And the drive-through lanes would come around the building in a counterclockwise manner. Very traditional for a drive-through use. The present potential tenant would be a coffee donut shop, but the building could alternatively accommodate any other type of retail use that uses a drive-through, such as a pharmacy or a bank, for example. The proposal before you tonight shows stacking for 6 vehicles in the drive-through lane, and it shows a bypass lane around the drive-through lane, so that if there is a lot of vehicles waiting to get into the drive-through lane, people can simply bypass and come around and pull into one of the parking spots, or swing back around and get back into the line when it frees up. The project is presently before the planning board for site plan review at this time as well. The planning board opened their site plan meeting last Thursday night, and they're going to continue their discussion on August 3rd. They're waiting for input from the various town departments. We presented a traffic impact statement.
Yeah, I was going to just ask you about that. What's that do to that entrance right there?
What we are proposing no changes to the two existing entrances to the property. They're both two-way entrances into the property. There is plenty of maneuvering space to come in for two-way aisle in this area. So the only one-way circulation would be in this area, and a 24-foot aisle width remains here to allow for two-way traffic to come in and around and allow for vehicles to back in and out of these parking spaces. And we've also shown on the plan, it might be hard to see from a distance, but we've shown the path that a tractor trailer would take to come in and service all of the buildings on the property. It would enter in this area, would come around, would back into where this proposed retail store is, continue around to service the existing supermarket as it already does, as well as these new retailers, and come around this way to service this building and then exit out in this direction. And it can all be done with the existing striping pattern in the middle of the lot without any changes. We've also analyzed the traffic on Fitchburg Road as part of our traffic impact study, and based on national studies for this type of use, in this type of an arrangement, the shopping center draw would continue to be the supermarket. The other retailers would feed off of the people that are coming to those uses. A coffee donut shop, in addition to drawing from supermarket traffic, would draw from the ordinary commuter traffic on Fitchburg Road. And based on existing opportunities for drive-through uses in this area, this isn't going to draw more people to Fitchburg Road necessarily that aren't already driving by. If anything, it might alleviate some of the traffic congestion for the donut shop that's at 16 Park Street. Some of those customers might stop here before they get to that location on Park Street as they're driving eastbound in the morning.
Yeah, because getting in and out of that one's a horror show.
Yeah, and I'll take some of the blame for that because I designed that site when it was developed many years ago.
You're not helping yourself.
I was much younger then, less experienced.
So the only thing you're asking for is a special permit to put the drive-through.
Yes, sir.
Page 34.
No, I'm just reading the rest of their application.
What else was there? Oh, yeah.
I don't see a problem.
No, that's-
Ron?
no problem.
Jess?
Nope.
Make a motion for the approval for the application for a drive-through on Fitchburg Road. This is part of the freestanding coffee donut shop, pharmacy, or whatever else it is.
Ron, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your time this evening. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So we're going to start that hopefully this fall, so, if we get the tenants lined up. We've already lined up the paver to do the parking lot over next year, because that's in real rough shape. We just wanted to do it for a lot of reasons. We did the center over. We also wanted to do the redevelopment of the center. So you'll start seeing some things hopefully this fall, and then clean up the parking lot.
We won't see another photo booth in there, will we?
Is that,
There used to be a little photo booth up there.
But it's amazing how things change over the years, because we have aerial view shots of all the properties, and things do change. So what you should see is, if things work out, we should be in there this fall, starting the other pad site, and then hopefully we can get a donor shop in there.
Oh, good luck.
Yeah, so thank you very much.
Thank you again.
Take care.
Hey, make a motion we close that hearing for special permit, 22, Area 22 LLC.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next on the agenda is the request for a one-year extension of special permit from Global Montella Group. Is there anybody here from Global?
I am, sir. Sorry. Good evening.
Your name is?
Scott Fenton. I'm Deputy General Counsel at Global Partners. You have a copy of the existing site plan for the board if they want to see it. So I'm here tonight in front of the board to ask for a one-year extension to our special permit for a drive-through. I was in front of the planning board last week to request the same, to request a one-year extension to our site plan approval that was set to expire the fall of this year. Our existing special permit for the drive-through was set to expire November of this year. And the cause, I was in front of the board last year to ask for a one-year extension because at that time there was duplicity in the permitting process. So they had originally gone, I think, for a variance and special permit. That project was essentially not mothballed, but rejected because of the issues with the variance. At that time, they got a special permit for the drive-through, but the timing of the sequencing wouldn't work as far as when we want to commence construction of the project because site plan approval was obtained almost a year after that. Since that time, Global has gone through a manifestation of becoming a Fortune 200 company. During that time, we've looked at all of our stores. So we have approximately 700 C-stores throughout, from Vermont or Maine down to Maryland. And we're going through a transformation, and that takes a while for a company of that size to do. So what I want to show the board is, this is really this is what the board approved originally for a drive-through. This is the site plan approval with the drive-through at the site. What we're proposing going forward is what we're referring to as a store of the future. So this is really intended to be kind of a market, open air market, with seating on the side. You'd have sites with the drive-through would have the drive-through obviously around the side. We're doing one right now in Pittsfield. We had permitted. I'm doing one down in Plymouth that I'm permitting. I'm doing one in Wilmington that I'm permitting. So in order to do that, in order to do our store of the future here, if we so decide to go that route, I do need another one-year extension to our special permit for the drive-through for this site.
My only question, I understand exactly what you're telling me and what you've projected. My only question is, says the applicant requests an additional one-year extension on the 2014 special permit to October 20, 2018 for good cause. What's the good cause?
The good cause is simply that
You haven't got to it yet?
Sorry?
You haven't got to it yet?
No, we weren't able to start construction yet because we're going through and trying to reevaluate or redesign our stores. So we put in front of the market the best store we can. So that's the good cause. That's what I demonstrated to the planning board last week, is that the good cause is we don't want to go forward with a site that in 2 years you'll look at it and say that's the same old box. That's a typical C-store that looks like the same thing as down the street. We want to demonstrate to the town to be a better neighbor to the towns, to have a use and to project a better image and provide better services to the town. So the indoor.
When do you project construction to begin?
On this site, it would be the spring of 18 if it goes this project. And last year I also heard the board. There was another member of the board that expressed concerns about this project. There was a female, a woman. I'm not sure who she was.
Kristen.
She expressed concerns regarding having a drive-through at this site, and the site in particular, its location. I went back to our executive team, talked to them about that. So we obviously look and we take that into consideration, and we are looking at whether there are other sites in Ayer or the surrounding towns that maybe the board would rather us be at. Right now, we don't have anything under agreement. So this site is fully permitted. So it would be a site we'd be able to go forward with.
You own this property now?
We're a tenant. It's a long-term ground lease. So, yeah, the lease terms commenced. We are paying rent every month, yes. Mr. Jarvis owns the fee.
Correct.
So again, the cause is, if you want me to restate again, it's really, we had to redesign our stores. And internally that takes a significant amount of time to get sign off and approval for a total redesign of our stores. So if you see the extra marks or all towns, that's our brand. The Mice Pike is our brand. We want to kind of re-image. And that took time. It took longer than I think anyone's expected it to do.
So the planning board gave you a year extension on your permit,
Correct. The planning board gave me a year extension last week, so that would go to,
October of 18.
yes, sir. So it asks that these two run coterminous if you want them to be, if you want to grant a 11-month, so they run coterminous, that obviously you have that authority. I have met with our construction department has talked with your building department about what's necessary for us to commence construction. I mean, there is time now before winter sets in to do site work, but that, in my view, would be a waste of time and money because I'll be going in front of the board for a modified permit. Degrubbing or throwing utilities in doesn't make a lot of sense right now.
No, nobody does winter construction unless they have to.
Right. And then you'd be shut down for the winter months. But I have obviously explored that approach with your building department.
Really, John?
Well, I think I went on the website and I looked at the number of times Global has approached the board in one method or another. I got the feeling that this is really a stall tactic and they're not really sure that that's the site they want to use. And so as long as they can keep getting permits, they can tie up the land and not have to do anything. They were rejected on a couple of permits. They had another application that they withdrew 4 variance requests. I just don't think that this is over 3 years old and it hasn't improved. It's just the same old. And Global was told at the last meeting, instead of keep coming back here, start working on your site. There's a lot of stuff you can do whether or not you have a drive-through. So I think it's time that Global showed some commitment to the property and to the town and to get going and do what they're going to do, or just wait until they're ready and start over.
Can I respond, sir? So one of the questions, and I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate that. This land is it's tied up. We are a tenant at the site. We are paying rent at this site. So it's not as if I'm an issue where I'm stringing along an owner of the property saying, I want my permits, I'm going to extend. I appreciate that. I've seen people do it on the development side. This is a site where we have permits in place. We are the tenant at the site. I did hear what the board said last time. They weren't
Receptive.
Sorry?
I think receptive is a good word.
Receptive about the drive-through at this site. There were concerns regarding the drive-through. So again, I went back to Eric Slivka, he's the president of the company. He sits in most of my meetings. I told him point blank, this is a site that the town's concerned about. Our first priority in doing these types of sites is to make sure the town, is receptive, that we have obviously traffic counts, but obviously we want the people in our stores. We do hope to build this site. It is a great site, but again, we are looking at alternatives just in case.
Yeah, that came before us too. An alternative. Across the street, backdoor approach. Across the street from the Exxon station. Yeah, we heard that last year. You guys came forward with that. They were fishing, trying to see if we would go for the land across the street from the Exxon station.
That wasn't me though.
No, it wasn't you.
Okay.
It was Global.
Because it would have been me though.
No, it was different. There's been different people through here for the last couple of years. Yeah.
There is, Dan Barry is one of our
I-
construction managers.
I can't tell you who they
If
were, I'm
that,
sorry.
it may have been Dan. That is our site. That is our Exxon
It
site.
was, they were talking about,
That one time was before.
next to
I
the
was on board.
cemetery, yeah.
And right across from our, that's our Exxon site. And we also control the one down the street on Main Street. We have a dealer at that location. So yes, it is. So we know gas, we know convenience stores. We're trying to develop a better store. We want people to enter our stores. I don't want to just put up a standard.
They can't enter them if you don't build them.
True.
I can't disagree with
That's
that. I mean, that's
yours.
just
I mean,
fundamental. That's just a statement of
You would have
fact.
netted $1 million by now. Out of 4 years, you'd think you'd make some money over there, but
Well, what, I don't,
it's just a circle that we're
With-
going through.
with all due respect, I don't think it's been 4 years. You mentioned that we've been in front of the board. You're right. And that was before my time here, that we were in front of the board to get variances. At that time,
It's been 4 years, it's been every bit of 4
It
years.
may have been from the start. I'm
Yeah,
just,
it has been from the start.
I've been
It went
with
to the
Global
planning
for 2
board.
years.
Yeah.
So at that point, it was determined, look, this is not to go forward seeking variances. I'm not sure if it was a dimensional variance. It looked just based on the initial.
I don't remember.
They downsized to come forward to get the special permit. But otherwise, the existing project complies with dimensional requirements for the town. Except the drive-through. Obviously, a drive-through makes the project work. You'd have a Dunkin' brand in there.
All right, let's look at something else. What happens if we don't give them the extension?
That's up to them. I mean, they can go and they can start working on that ground and they can.
No, I'm trying to look at logistics of it. We gave them a special variation for the drive-through. Now,
Through October.
through October. What happens if we say no to the extension? The planning board already extended the permit for a year. So what does that mean? What do-
That's
I
up to
don't
the
know
planning
either.
board
The planning board gave an extension for a year
For the building.
for the building. And if we say no to the drive-through, what does that mean? They gotta come back?
I think if we say no, then that means that they have to wait 2
2 years.
before they can apply again.
And then
I don't think that's the case.
I
I don't
believe
think
that's-
no, because you're not denying the special permit.
Yes, we
You're
are.
just simply,
Oh,
you're
well,
not
that's
agreeing
true.
to
If
the
you go back with
extension.
your bulldozer, you're right.
You're not agreeing to the
You can prevent
extension.
that.
Granted the special permit, that's a record. It's at the registry of deeds. So that issues, I don't have to wait the 2 years. You're denying the extension.
Correct.
It's a different thing. So
Okay.
I wouldn't have to wait the 2 years. I could be back whenever I have revised plans. So again, I do respect your concerns
We
and your
want you to,
comments.
we want you to go work on the ground and start
There-
coming back.
It is, believe me, I am a dirt lawyer. I want to see dirt. I want to see projects done.
Well, then
I'm
make
telling
it
you, it
happen.
just, for a project where you're totally redesigning a site, an image, it takes time. For me to start this
I
building,
think 4
I
years
can't
is
do it.
ample. I think 4 years is more than ample. If there was any commitment to this project, it would have been started. I don't think you're happy with the land. I don't think you.
The commitment shown by the fact that I didn't terminate the lease agreement when I could have. During the permitting period,
You'll
I
have
could
another
have.
opportunity.
All right.
I don't have an opportunity to terminate the lease.
All right. Take a vote on it.
Well, let's get the mood of the room before we take a vote. Because it has to be unanimous, I'd like to.
I don't think it has to be unanimous.
No,
It's
it's
just
3 out of
majority.
4.
3 out of 4.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not a super majority, it's just 3 out of 4. I think I got your
I'm
feeling,
not,
John.
I'm not finding it a tasty treat. No, no.
Ron?
Let's take a vote. Let's take a vote. I
Jess?
don't like this appointment stuff.
Hey,
We
Makes it
we do
simple.
it on all of them.
that's right, we do it on all of them. How do you feel about it?
Well, all right, I'll tell you how I feel.
Exactly.
But we always,
So did we approve this or not?
Yes, we did.
Okay, so what's the deal? Why you need another extension? You're gonna change stuff again?
No, they're not gonna change anything. They want the extension because they're not starting construction until next year.
Because 4 years isn't enough
Because
time.
they're just, this building is just gonna have a different image, and so they're unable to start it.
That's what he said, yes.
That's a substantial
Well,
endeavor.
if it was
to get.
if it was
That's-
no,
How do you feel about it?
no.
Jess?
I wasn't here for the previous discussions. I'm a little bit inclined to be swayed by the planning board vote, so probably yes.
Take a vote on it.
I make a motion that we vote on the application for Global for an extension on their request for a drive-through extension.
For or against?
4.
All in favor?
So we vote, let's.
Well, that's what you
clarify.
have to vote on.
Let's clarify, no, I don't understand what I'm voting for.
You're voting that, I'm saying that we're voting for the extension.
Either yay or nay.
Okay. got
The
it.
extension's
We're
on the
voting.
table. Vote
Right.
yay or nay.
I still don't understand, did we not approve this?
We-
All right, all right, I'm thinking of extension of a building right now.
No.
Extension
All right,
of the
Yes.
extension.
Extension of this permit. I just want to make sure, because this is a big vote, you know? It isn't easy.
Somebody seconded?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Second, to approve the extension. That is the
To
motion.
approve the extension, Ron, yes, that's the extension of the
All right.
special permit. That's all we're voting on. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Oh,
Opposed?
Thank you, sir.
That was painful.
Yeah, well.
thought the first one was painful.
But I understand your concerns. I mean, it's,
what was the vote?
What? I said no.
Aye.
that's all.
He mumbles.
You said no?
There was
No.
What?
I said no.
I didn't hear you. It was still 3 out of 4.
Yeah.
Thank you.
She needs to go back.
Thank you.
Yep.
And that was a delicate, are we all, now they're all closed?
We're close.
That was
closed.
a delicate
Hearing's
matter you
closed.
guys,
Oh,
the
wait.
board handled with
Did you
the,
vote to close it? You haven't voted.
I make a motion that we close the hearing for Global regarding the extension of the permit.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we're
that was a
closed.
delicate matter you handled well with the solar.
Thank you.
It was, when I was in private practice, I represented the largest solar developers in New England, along with National Grid. So I've been on that side before. There may have been some better arguments I think they could have made under your zoning bylaws. And I just looked at them quick at the hearing, but I didn't want to offer, he's actually one of our clients,
Really?
Richie,
um,
the
the person that was sitting here, the short sleeve.
Kevin.
Kevin. And it is, I had actually filed legislation and had been arguing. And there is a, and I'm happy to send it to you. I have an opinion from Margaret Hurley from the AG's office, who was
Right.
in the town of Leominster. That was my project, where she had done that letter. Because they had required it by special permit. And she's like, you may require it by special permit, but be careful. You're treading on thin ice here on what's going to be permitted. They were really contesting hours. We were kind of out. There was more of one that was in the middle of residential that they wanted to stop, but it impacted my client at that time. So I'm happy to forward that to you if you don't have it or if you have it.
Absolutely. Please.
and share.
And share.
Yeah, it was interesting. She took her time. Margaret and I had been on some committees together, and she really did take her time with that. Bigger issue with the solar, they're foolish not to agree to site plan approval.
Right. Yes.
I mean, it's reasonable, so you could say that's not reasonable, but that's foolish. But thinking there's gonna be trees within 30 feet, there's a shadow issue.
No.
There's gonna be a sundial on your panels. But it's interesting. It's very interesting. So, well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
One more item, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry. I have a note from Carly. Somewhere here. It's a question that was posed to us. variance for...
open or closed, sir?
Oh, you can leave it open, thank you. Variance for deck request, certified plot plan. Now, our bylaw requires a plot plan. Certified. That means signed, stamped, dated by a professional engineer. She says, we received the following request relative to a certified plot plan for the installation of a deck. The photo is attached. I got it somewhere. I'm comfortable using the mortgage inspection plan because it's on the same plane as the house. He still needs to come before the ZBA, but the question is whether or not he needs to get a survey. So he has the mortgage inspection plot plan.
Which is
Does
signed
that
by a
show the
registered
deck?
surveyor.
There it is.
And that shows the deck? The plot
It shows
plan?
where he wants to put the deck. But the question is, does he have to get a certified drawing now when he makes application for the deck?
Is that a question to us or the planning board?
That's a question to us because it comes to us as a variation.
If it's in a reference to a certified surveyor's plan,
He left he sent a note with this. Now this
the
is
recent one.
this is from the Registry of Deeds. This is a surveyor's plot plan for the bank. He says, "My name is Kevin McPherson. I live at 10 Page Street in Ayer. I am building a deck off the rear of my house, and the building inspector has noted that I may need a variance for construction. He will because of setback. I have a detailed mortgage inspection plan with measurements of the house and the plot. My house is only about 3 feet from my neighbor's driveway, so it's pretty clear of where the boundary line is. Just to be clear, the deck will be no closer to the boundary line than the house is. The house is non-conforming as it is already. We know that. Too close to the property line. Will the mortgage inspection plan work, or do you need me to get an engineer and a surveyor involved to get a certified plot plan?"
So what you're looking at is a certified drawing from the mortgage plan, that's certified, right?
Yep,
And it has everything that another surveyor is going to prove?
pretty much.
And how old is that survey? You know, I mean,
Well,
Trying to see.
they don't have a shelf life on it.
It's a
okay,
stamp on it.
I don't see where duplicity is going to help or hurt.
It won't, I don't think it will either. He says, I know I need a 10-foot from the boundary line, so I need a variance of 7 feet to make the 10, or a full 10, but it really doesn't make a difference. Please respond as soon as possible in case he has to get the engineer involved.
Well, my opinion is he doesn't need another survey.
I wouldn't think so either, but our bylaw says certified plot
Do
plan.
we need to vote on that and make it formal?
I would think so, yeah.
Mr. Chair, I would recommend that for the record.
I make a motion that we accept Mr. McPherson's mortgage inspection plan as plot plan needed for variance application.
And you will the survey, correct?
All in favor?
Aye.
Done.
Who seconded?
All right.
You're quiet over there when
Yeah.
you come down.
Last but not
Sitting
least.
moment.
Minutes from last meeting. I looked at them.
I looked at them.
They look good to me.
You did?
Go ahead.
I
If you
see.
got them in front of me, you can make the motion with the date, because I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah,
June 21st.
it was, yes.
Thank you.
Good job, by the way.
Yes, thank you.
Very
Good
nice.
job.
I make a motion, we accept the meeting minutes as written
As written.
for June 21st, 2017.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Pat.
Who signs?
Rhonda, she's the clerk.
Deprived me of that job.
All right, last but not least, make a motion, John.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.